Next, I want to talk about what is sentence clumsiness and what are the tips for overcoming it. Now, first of all, what is sentence clumsiness? Sentence clumsiness may be defined as the awkwardness and the carelessness in sentence structure. It is typically reflected in lack of accuracy, appropriateness, and elegance in tests, including disagreements in noun, pronoun, tense, voice, and lack of cohesiveness in choice of words, phrases, and clauses. Sentence clumsiness is a major weakness in poor translation-based English academic writing, particularly for Chinese students. Now, let's see some facts about journal rejection because of sentence clumsiness. A great many academic papers written by Chinese graduates are rejected simply for sentence clumsiness. I'll repeat this again. A great many academic papers written by Chinese graduate students are rejected simply for sentence clumsiness. These rejections often appear as not suitable for this journal, but actually they are due to poor English. And a great many Chinese graduates write their academic papers based on translation devices. And that's a huge trap for producing papers like this. I talked this earlier. And these papers are usually full of grammatical and idiomatic problems of sentence clumsiness in tests. I hope you keep this in mind. So the conclusion is, do not invite the editor of your target journal reject your paper at the first glance. Do not do this, please. Next, I want to give you some examples of sentence clumsiness. Let's look at examples of lack of tense agreement. Let's see this passage. Look at it, and what problems can you find? You can pause for a while, and then see the next passage. You can pause for a while and see the next revised version. Let's see the revised version. Now I see the problems is. This is called lack of tense agreement. I see this passage. Pause for a while, think for yourself, and see the revised version or the alternative sentence. You can see there's no verb in the passage. See this passage and think for yourself where the problems are, and there see the next passage or the alternative sentence, and you can find where is the lack of non-agreement. And see these two sentences, think for a while, and let's see this revised version. Okay, and you can see there was a lack of a pronoun agreement. And let's see this passage. Think for a while, and see next passage for its revision, and you can see there was a lack of noun and a pronoun agreement. And let's see this passage, and think for a while, and see the next passage to find the lack of active-passive voice agreement. Meaning, if you start with an active voice, you better keep it. If you start with a passive voice, you better keep it. Because this consistency is a cohesive style in writing. We talked this earlier. And see this example is short sentence. And you need to find the problem. And then see the next, and you can find the disagreement in pronoun. And let's see these two sentences, see where the problems are. think for yourself and see the next. You can see alternative sentences, and you can see there was an inappropriate use of the words, or the weird words that are used. And let's see a bigger passage. This time take a longer time. I strongly suggest that you stop here and look for the problems before you see the answer. And here's the answer. Can you see the answer? There was the tense inconsistency, there's a lack of the verb, and you can see in the passage there's a lack of tense, and you can see the problems in tense inconsistency, like a verb, inaccurate use of the verb, there is tense inconsistency again, and finally is the inaccurate use of the word. I see this passage again and see how many problems you can identify, and see the revisions again. You can see problems in inaccurate use of the word, tense inconsistency, inaccurate use of the word again, and tense inconsistency. Now, if you submit a manuscript which is full of sentence clumsiness like this, how much of a chance your manuscript are accepted by the editor or by the reviewers? Now, oftentimes, you can bet, you can trust that most reviewers, when they look at a paper submitted by a lot of our Chinese graduate students, they're going to say one thing: please find a professional editor to proofread your paper. As a reviewer myself, I often feel really provoked and upset by the kind of sentence clumsiness like this in writing. And it really disturbed my mood. You can imagine how likely I'm going to recommend your paper for acceptance when you have so many basic mistakes or basic problems. So bear in mind. Okay, having said all of this, let's see some tips for overcoming sentence clumsiness. First, do read exemplary papers before start writing. Second, do check disagreements in noun, pronoun, tense, and voice in tests. 3, do check for cohesive style in writing. 4th, do check for proper use of discipline-specific vocabulary. 5, do get a professional to proofread your manuscript before submission. And 6, do keep the original copies of professionally revised and edited manuscripts for self-study. I hope you'll remember the 6 points in mind before you submit your paper for review or re-review again. I recommend the 5-color marking method for you to do intensive reading of the exemplary papers. And remember, this is the thing you should do. It is only by intensive reading like this that you'll really know the essence or the feeling of writing like a native speaker. And this is a similarity checkup which I did before. They give you the report. You have to make sure that the similarity of your writing is less than 30%. And oftentimes it may be similar to your own writing because you used a lot of your own papers before. And this time you better be careful not repeating yourself. That's tough because you write your own stuff. You think you're not copying or plagiarizing from anyone else. No, the detector will not be able to find it. So you have to be creative in rewriting your own sentences to avoid similarity, index, checkup, failure. And look for professional editing. Oftentimes I would receive an email like this. It's called Asia Edit. And this guy is called Peter Day. He's giving you a good day. He introduced himself. Of course, he I'm not necessarily using him. I'm just giving you an example of service like this always available. But let me tell you, try to find some agents that's really professional. Editing service organized by some Chinese or non-native speakers. The revision he got back was different than the manuscript before, and my friend thought it was good. But when I look at it, I saw the paper was as bad as before. How come my friend didn't detect it or could not find it? Because his English was not good enough. He would not know the differences. For me, the revised version was basically the same, even though he paid a lot of money for the revision. I'm not saying that we Chinese cannot do a better job. It's just that, when we talk about academic writing, you really have to get the discipline-based or discipline-specific professionals to do your writing. They have to use the words. It's really the idiomatic usage of the words that really determine the quality of your writing. You can see this is just one page of revision, and you can see that's a lot. And I myself, as I said before, even though I've done a lot of writing, I really looked for editorial assistants. I paid for them, and this is what I think deserve my payment. My payment is well off. It's well counted because you can see the revisions really mean and really improve my writing. And I really learned from this. So the conclusion is, polish or perish? That is the question. You may wonder where this is from. Let me tell you, this is from Shakespeare. And the statement he has, to be or not be, that is the question. So please polish your paper before your paper is perished.